Are you struggling to pass the CPA exam? Did your review course fail to fit your learning style? I'm Darius Clark of I-75 CPA Review, the #1 course supplement, where the right teacher makes all the difference. And if you're taking the CPA REG exam, you know they're going to ask you about S-Corps, forming the S-Corp, even revoking the S-election. So let's take a look at a couple of multiple choice questions that are a must-know for S-Corps. Telcorp is an S-Corp with 6,000 shares of common voting stock and 4,000 shares of non-voting common stock held by 50 shareholders. So S-Corps, we know, can't have more than 100 shareholders. They can have as many shares as they want, but notice they can only have common stock, but they can have common voting and common non-voting, as long as it's only one class of stock, common stock. Which of the following is correct with regard to the S-election? 1. Telcorp's S-election can be revoked by shareholders owning more than 5,000 shares. Well, you need a majority of shares to revoke the S-election. Unanimous consent to elect S, but if you want to revoke S and go back to C and be double taxed, you need a majority. So how many total shares are there? 10,000? And for this purpose, the common voting and the common non-voting are treated the same. So we have 10,000 total shares. As long as you have more than 5,000 of the shares consenting, you can revoke the S-election. So 1 looks good. How about 2? If 40 of the 50 shareholders who own less than 5,000 shares consented to the revocation and the rest did not, Telcorp would remain an S-Corp. That's true. So voting to revoke S status goes by the number of shares, not by the number of shareholders. So you need more than 5,000 shares in order to revoke the S-election, since there's a total of 10,000 shares here. If one individual held more than 5,000 shares, that one person could revoke S status. We don't need a majority of shareholders. We need a majority of shares. Beam Company held a machine with a basis of $60,000, fair market value of $70,000. In March of the current year, Beam transfers the machine to an owner. The entity would pass through a gain of $10,000 to the owner if the entity were a partnership? No, because assets come out of a partnership at basis, so there wouldn't be any built-in gain of $10,000. But if this were an S-Corp, then you would have a $10,000 gain to pass through to the shareholder. What about if this were a limited liability company, an LLC? Nope, an LLC is taxed like a partnership. Therefore, the asset would come out at basis and no gain would pass through. What if this were a C-Corp? Then there would be a $10,000 gain to the C-Corp. But here, the answer would be 2 only. Just an S-Corp out of these 3 would pass through a gain of $10,000 when this appreciated asset gets transferred from entity to shareholder. S-Corp, an S corporation, held a machine with a basis of $90,000 and a fair market value of $170 and a cost of $240,000. In March of the current year, S-Corp transfers the machine to the sole shareholder. S-Corp would pass through a gain to the shareholder in the amount of what? So it will be an $80,000 capital gain. When assets come out of a corporation, the asset comes out at fair value, which is $170,000, they tell us. For an S-Corp, there would be a gain on that transfer, $170 minus the $90,000 basis, or $80,000 gain, and that gain gets passed through to the S-Corp shareholder. So notice the answer is $80,000 because this is an S-Corp, but if this were a partnership, the answer would be 0 because assets come out of a partnership at basis and not fair value. Notice that the original cost of $240,000, just a distractor. Which of the following is an advantage of an S-Corp being considered an S-Corp from inception over an S-Corp that has undistributed profits from its days as a C-Corp? 1. S-Corps from inception are allowed to have unlimited number of shareholders. No. You're limited to 100 shareholders for an S-Corp. Doesn't matter if you were an S from inception or not. 2. S-Corps from inception are allowed to have unlimited passive investment income. Yeah, that's true. There are advantages of being S from inception, and that's one of the advantages, that there's no limit on passive investment income. Whereas if you started out as a C Corp and you had undistributed earnings and then you convert to an S Corp, the S election would be automatically revoked if more than 25% of the S Corp's gross receipts come from passive investment income for 3 consecutive years. And that's simply because the S Corp was once a C Corp. However, if the S Corp was considered an S Corp from inception, then there's no limit on passive investment income. So 2 is correct because that is a big advantage of being an S from inception. And if you need more help with S Corps or any part of the CPA Reg exam, go to cpaexamtutoring.com and get yourself on I-75, where the right teacher makes all the difference.